Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Teskita. Teskita's only focus is winning. Her lack of not only blood but compassion can be regarded as arrogance, but in all honesty she does what is needed to get the job done. Her character makes her the perfect killing machine for any army. And so here we have Teskita, the newest and latest Thunder Legendary monster. And as of the time recording this video, there's a total of 23 Thunder Legendary monsters. Teskita is also part of the female book, which is home to 44 legendary monsters, and she's in the mechanical book, which houses 36 legendary monsters. And then lastly, she's in the recently added winter book, which currently only has 24 legendary monsters. And all that aside, let's analyze her stats. Her power is 3476, which is the 7th highest in the Thunder category, and she's actually tied with Tempest in 7th place. Although she's tied for 7th, the power stat itself, 3476, this is the 4th highest stat in the Thunder category. And then as for her life, she has 23,524, which is actually in 15th place, tied with Yandra. So not a very high life, especially when we consider there's only 23 Thunder Legendary monsters currently released. But then as for her speed, she has one of the more faster speeds, 3476. This puts her tied for 5th place with monsters like Thyra, ROFL, and Griffin. So she's pretty fast, she's pretty strong, she just doesn't have the best survivability. And then as for his trait, she's immune to freeze, making her the very first Thunder monster to be immune to freeze, and that's because I'm not including the nemesis monster Hydratilla the Boltcaster, who technically yes is a Thunder monster, but come on, let's be honest, he shouldn't be a Thunder monster, he should be a water monster with a Thunder weapon. But yeah, if we exclude Hydratilla, Teskita is the very first Thunder monster to be immune to freeze, which makes her unique, but at the same time, it's hard to argue how usable that is, because in the Thunder category specifically, you're prone to being blinded, you're prone to being stunned, you're prone to being dazed, and so having the immune to freeze trait doesn't help you out that much. But then at the same time, if you ever encounter a Hydratilla the Boltcaster on defense who can AoE freeze, hey, you can just bring Teskita and you're protected from that. And not to mention, she's also in the winter book, which is probably where it's going to be the most useful. As for the mechanical book and the female book, well, yes, there are monsters that can freeze in those books, but you know, those books have a lot of monsters to choose from. So she'll probably get the most usability against the winter book and against Hydratilla the Boltcaster specifically. And then as for her relics, she can hold a mask relic and she can also hold the sword relic. And with all of that out of the way, we can talk about her ultimate attack, Division Down. Deals insane thunder damage to all enemies, applies evasion to all allies. So this skill deals 80 thunder based damage to a single enemy monster. But the best part about this skill, like the 80 damage is nice and all, it's only to a single enemy however, the best part about this skill is that your whole entire team gets evasion. Evasion makes it so you basically are immune to everything. You can't get hit with negative effects and you can't get hit with damage. The only thing that could actually hurt you would be like a stamina drain. But you're protected from getting denied, protected from torture status effects, protected from damage. Like, I know Teskita is supposed to be an attacker, but the fact that this skill grants you evasion, that is incredible. You know, it's like the ultimate supportive ultimate, while also having the potential to take out one enemy monster. I love this skill, and it's obviously a counter to like Voltic or Zyla, those extra turn monsters. However, it is an ultimate skill, not a regular skill. But yeah, Team Evasion, just incredible. And then as for her regular skills, there is one skill I want to talk about from skills group 1. It's called Woman Ex Machina. Deals low special damage to all enemies, applies mechanical hater to all allies, requires cooldown. So this skill deals 50 special base damage to a single enemy monster. It costs a pretty high 36 stamina, has 100 cooldown, and it applies mechanical hater. And mechanical hater is supposed to make it so your attacks are strong against monsters from the mechanical book. Although I'm just not exactly sure how strong mechanical hater is supposed to make your attack, because when testing with Scrap Warrior, it appears that it's like almost a triple damage, which I think is just insane and unrealistic. I think it should be more like a 50% damage buff, you know, the equivalent to doing Magnetize, or like applying Sticky Lava, so maybe an 80% damage buff. But triple damage is just insane. I don't know if that was an issue with Social Point. I don't know if it's purposeful. I don't know if they're going to change it. I did feel the need to mention this skill because keep in mind she is in the mechanical book and your whole team will get mechanical hater. So if you're going up against mechanical monsters, you know, you can kind of use her as a supportive role. Have your Teskita go before your attacker, give your whole team mechanical hater, and just go from there. Your attacker is going to be buffed against a mechanical monster or monsters. And you know, it can be really effective to use her as a supportive monster, especially since she's faster than your average monster with a base speed of 3476. So just keep that in mind, it's something you may or may not want to utilize. But with that said, let's move on over to skills group 2, Train to Succeed. Removes all negative status effects from itself, applies precision, and 1 extra turn to itself, requires cooldown. 19 stamina cost, a high fortune cooldown. It's a self skill that gives you increased accuracy and an extra turn. So this skill is pretty cool for 2 reasons. The first of all is the obvious, you get increased accuracy and an extra turn, which means your next attack cannot miss. It doesn't even matter what negative status effects you may have had before. If you were blind, if you were dazed, first of all, this skill removes any negative effects, so that's gone. And then that increased accuracy, your next attack cannot miss. It's always guaranteed to land, which I think is a pretty cool and unique thing about this monster. You cannot miss your next attack. It's 100% reliable. I want to engrave that in your guys' memory. You're always guaranteed to land your attack with Teskita. And then the second thing I like about this monster is with the recent change, or maybe not so recent anymore, with the change to possession in which you can't choose what attack to use, and the AI basically does a random attack, while having a sub skill that grants an extra turn, that just increases the likelihood of the AI using that. You know, so now when the AI is choosing out of 5 possibilities, 4 skills and a recharge, one of those skills is going to be an extra turn skill, which doesn't do you any harm and just helps you out. And so I personally think this is a must-have skill. If you have this monster, run Train to Succeed. And then the next skill we have is the Invisible Hand. Applies evasion for 2 turns, not 1 turn, 2 turns, and it's 2 turns because you also get an extra turn to yourself. So another self skill, 14 stamina cost, once again a high cooldown, a 6 turn cooldown, but again, evasion, extra turn. So if you run Invisible Hand and Train to Succeed, you now have 2 extra turn skills. So now if your monster was ever to be possessed, assuming the likelihood of the AI choosing a random skill is equal, then you have a 40% chance to use an extra turn skill, you have a 20% chance to recharge, and then a 40% chance to attack yourself or your team. And so I think those are definitely good odds in your favor. But anyhow, the Invisible Hand, a 2 turn evasion, I think that's incredible. Obviously you don't want to be dumb about it, you don't want to do Invisible Hand, give yourself evasion, and then Train to Succeed, because that would just be a waste. You'd waste 1 turn of evasion. So what you want to do, actually I think you'd waste almost 2 turns of evasion after you do your other attack. What you want to do, if you did want that increased accuracy and the evasion, you could do Train to Succeed first, then the Invisible Hand, and then your attack that's guaranteed to land. And then you still have that evasion to protect you for the following turn. So if you do run both of these skills, just be really smart about how you actually utilize them. And then would you take a look at that? Go Rogue, deals moderate special damage to one enemy, applies evasion to itself, requires cooldown. 35 special base damage to a single enemy monster, 23 stamina cost, 2 turn cooldown, and you get evasion. So I'm actually going to say I don't think this skill is worth running. Maybe, actually it could be, it's really going to go down to preference, like is usually the case with a lot of these new monsters. They tend to have really powerful skills. So actually let me talk about skills group 3 and then we can come back to this skill. And so one of the skills we have in skills group 3 is called Cancel Target. Deals very heavy special damage to one enemy, 60 damage, 28 stamina cost, no cooldown. So you can spam the skill as many times as you need to. And with all the monsters that can activate cooldowns activated nowadays, I think it's extremely useful to have a skill that has no cooldown. Especially since you're in the mechanical book, you can encounter Timerion. And then the female book, I think has Montauk Creature, which has a single cooldowns activated. And I think that's all you really need to worry about. But then in the context of a 3 against 3 team, there's a very high chance that one of the enemy monsters you face may have cooldowns activated. So it's best to be prepared. Not to mention, it's 60 special base damage. And once again, I mentioned with Train to Succeed, you cannot miss. So it's a guaranteed 60 damage that's gonna land with no debuffs, no nothing. You won't be poisoned, you won't be bleeding. None of that is gonna have any effect on you. It's a guaranteed 60 special base damage. And the only upside is that you may have some sort of buff on you. And so I personally think you should run this skill. I can't really say whether it's a must-have or not, but I would just highly recommend it. But now we're to where things get a lot more complicated. You have another sub-skill where you get double damage, Freeze Hater, and evasion to yourself. And I can only assume that Freeze Hater is like Mechanical Hater or like Artifact Hater, in which you get a buff against monsters that are frozen. I don't think it's against monsters that have freeze skills. I'm pretty sure it's against frozen monsters, similar to how some relics work, where if the enemy monster is stunned or frozen, then the relic activates. And so I'm assuming that's how Freeze Hater works. So let's talk about Oversight Training. You get evasion, which means he's very similar to Muerte McBlood, in which he gives himself double damage, and evasion meaning you can't deny him, you can't immobilize him, and he has a self buff that's really gonna wreck you on the next turn. Well, Teskita can do the same. She can grant herself evasion, give herself that double damage, grant herself the Freeze Hater, which may or may not benefit you, but really just that evasion double damage, on the next turn the enemy monsters are really gonna feel it. Especially because after you do Oversight Training, you can do Train to Succeed, which will give you increased accuracy. So now you have double damage, increased accuracy, and because you had evasion on that first turn, no negative effect may have landed on you. And let's just say that maybe the enemy monster did a negative effect on you before you were able to activate Oversight Training. That's fine. Train to Succeed will remove any negative status effect you may have on yourself. And so once again, you have double damage, you have increased accuracy, and for your last attack, you have Former Agent, which is a 45 damage thunder-based attack. Thanks to your double damage, that's 90 damage, and thanks to your increased accuracy, you cannot miss. Like that's a pretty amazing combo you can pull off. And Former Agent, what does this do? This deals very heavy thunder damage to all enemies, and it applies daze to all enemies. Not that that matters too much. I mean, yeah, if any enemy monster does happen to survive after that combo, then hey, now they have a 1/4 less chance to hit you, and their damage output is reduced by 1/4. But speaking about this skill itself, 30 damage, 1 turn cooldown, and actually, because this skill has a 1 turn cooldown, there's actually another combo you can utilize. You can start the game off with the Invisible Hand to give yourself evasion for 2 turns, you get that extra turn. During that extra turn you use Former Agent to daze everyone to deal 4500 base damage, and then evasion is still active. On your next turn you can activate Train to Succeed, which costs 19 stamina, you give yourself that increased accuracy, you get that extra turn. Because of the extra turn, the cooldown on this will be 0, and you can use Former Agent yet again, and so now you're going to be dealing another 4500 base damage. The only difference between this combo and the other combo is that, you know, you're still dealing the same damage. With Oversight Training, it's still 90 damage because of the double damage buff, but you don't get freeze hated with the other combo. But the only other main difference with starting off with this combo is that after you do the Invisible Hand, you're immediately damaging the enemies, assuming you don't miss. You know, there is that possibility you miss. Whereas with Oversight Training, you're not attacking everyone on that first initial turn, you're storing it all up for like one massive attack. So yeah, like this monster, quite amazing, so many ways to utilize her. You know, you can run this to apply Mechanical Hater, although I imagine most people won't. You can look at all her evasion skills, and again, we didn't even talk about Go Rogue. You could almost make it so this monster can never be touched. Oversight Training gives you evasion, Go Rogue gives you evasion, the Invisible Hand gives you evasion for 2 turns. You know, like, there's so many things you can do with this monster. She's so darn impressive, I think. Is she incredible? Is she amazing? I'm gonna go as far as to say, quite possibly, because even like against a monster like Voltic, first of all, Teskita is faster than Voltic. Second of all, again, evasion. So if Voltic does manage to, if you can't kill Voltic and he manages to attack you, you know your Teskita is protected because Voltic, he can waste all of his stamina attacking you and you're fine. And then cancel target, because you have a special base 60 damage attack, Voltic isn't that tanky. He has one of the lowest lives in the Thunder category, so you can potentially take him out. And so I feel like I can go on and on about this monster. In terms of what the best skill set is, that is really hard. Right now I'm thinking the Invincible Hand, Train to Succeed, Cancel Target, and Former Agent. That's the skill set I'm going to be running if I happen to get this monster. That way I can utilize that second combo I mentioned, and then I have Cancel Target for when I need a guaranteed kill. And I'm going to be giving this monster 2 Strength Runes and a Speed, or maybe if I give her a high enough Strength Rune, I might just do 1 Speed, 1 Strength, and 1 Team Speed, just to help my Deny monster go out, and to make sure she goes 2nd or possibly 3rd. But then another potential skill set is to do Oversight Training, Former Agent, and then honestly whatever you want. Do you want Go Rogue to have an extra 35 damage? Do you want that increased accuracy, which I really think you should? So it would be Former Agent, Oversight Training, Train to Succeed, and then whatever skill you want, which I imagine would be the Invisible Hand, because 2 turn evasion and an extra turn skill, you can't go wrong with that. Oh man, like they're making monsters where it's so hard to pick the skills because they're all really good. And so this is actually the part of the video where I'm going to ask you guys, if you're able to obtain this monster, what skill set would you use on this monster and how would you utilize her? How would you rune her up? Would you give her 2 strength and a speed? Would you give her team speed and 2 strength? Single strength, speed, and team speed? What would be the combo you want to utilize? Oversight Training, Train to Succeed, and Former Agent? Or would you just want to do Invisible Hand, Former Agent, Train to Succeed, and then Former Agent yet again? Or maybe you just want this monster for more defensive purposes, in which you run Go Rogue, Invisible Hand, Oversight Training, so she has 3 evasion skills, and then I guess Former Agent, that way it can daze the enemy monsters and be still be pretty powerful. Or maybe you want to use her as supportive to do Mechanical Hater. That's probably the worst option, but I just feel the need to mention it because it is a possibility in the spectrum of Monster Legends. So yeah, now I want to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about Teskita? Do you like her? Do you dislike her? How do you think she compares to other Thunder monsters? How well do you think she's going to do in the female book, or the mechanical book, or even the new winter book? Are there any cool, interesting relics you can use on this monster? Whatever thoughts are going on through your guys' minds concerning Teskita, let me know in the comments below. I am really looking forward to reading your guys' comments on this monster, because she's probably not going to be the last monster, but personally, I just really like her. I think she's the most unique of them all. And so with that being said, best of luck to all of you on your Monster Legends adventures, and like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.